Hello, in this video I want to talk about money and forensic accounting. I want to cover what financial coercive control is, but I will also put a link in the description box below on a video I have recorded on it. Talk about why coercive control is used, how it was used to keep you trapped, and give you some ideas of helping you track money and look at their accounts forensically. Hello and welcome to the Divorce Sanctuary. My name's Elizabeth Goddard. I'm the author of Finding Lily and the A to Z of emotional abuse. On this channel I talk about emotional abuse, healing from it, divorcing from the emotional abuser both physically and emotionally. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you're returning, welcome back and thank you. And thank you so much to all my new subscribers over the last few weeks and months. It's just been amazing. Thank you for your support. So to the outside world, the emotional abuser is generous and giving. They flaunt their money. It's only the people in their tribe that understand the truth. You might have discovered that they stole from you. They don't understand why you believe this is wrong, because in their world, what is yours is theirs. But what is theirs in their own world. If it's not tied down, they believe they own it. Any financial gifts or inheritance you received, they told you that they should be responsible for it, as you weren't trustworthy. They may have even told you that everyone thinks that you're, and fill in the blank, whether it's not good with money or you can't be trusted with money. And they may have suggested other family members have raised concerns about the way you behave with money. And if you did not hand over the money to them, they created scenarios where you were forced to use this gift or inheritance for paying bills or for other items. They might not have allowed you access to bank accounts or to see any of the records. You might have been forced to hand over your wages, or it was paid into an account that only they had access to. Or they may have forced you into a position where you needed to use your money to pay for the bills, the rent, the food, and their money was used for themselves. You may find the bills or credit cards are in your name, but the assets are in theirs. They increase debt without agreement or knowledge, ruin your credit rating, your ability to attain credit in the future. This can be such a scary place to find yourself in. Not only are you recovering from the trauma and trying to make sense of what happened, you might find yourself financially struggling, left with nothing. And to add salt to those wounds, they appear to land on their feet, walking away financially secure. They've used coercive techniques to put you in this position where you're forced to beg for money, for food, clothes, or personal hygiene. They've positioned you into having financial dependence on them. They've told you you're crazy or paranoid when you start to question things. Financial coercive control creates the effects of living in fear, living in that fight, flight, fawn, freeze, always wondering where you're going to find the money to pay for the next bill or afford to pay for your rent or buy food. And your self-esteem is non-existent. And you believe that you're not worthy of anything. And if you do have any money, you might make poor choices due to the low self-esteem. Financial abuse can also be used after the relationship has ended. It can be used through child support payments or spousal maintenance. They might withhold payments or reduce them. Money is very important to them. It is power to them. When it comes to finances, as I said, what is yours is theirs. What is theirs is theirs. They will move and hide assets, and they will create expenditure, and the very covert ones will play victim. And I'll put a link below to my video on does mediation work. It's very possible that you were not given access to any accounts. It's also quite likely that they had accounts that you have no idea about. And it's very possible that you trusted them and you didn't feel the need to go through their bank accounts. Or if you were financially controlled, you might have been stuck in the fight, flight, fawn, freeze, the stress responses, and too afraid or frozen there, not knowing what to do or who to turn to. During the divorce process, you will be given the opportunity to go through their finances, or what they are claiming are their finances. And this does sound rather dramatic, but don't believe anything. Get the nose of a bloodhound and go sniffing everything out. I will put a link to my video, Duty of Care, because it's important to remember that you have a right to ask questions. It's important to remember that the other legal team, your estranged partner's legal team, that they have a duty of care towards you. They might make you feel that you don't have a right to ask, but you can, and you do. I remember asking for some information about a bank account that hadn't been provided and being told by the legal team that it had been closed 2 years earlier. But I knew that that couldn't be right because of the timing. However, I didn't do anything about it. I didn't ask for more confirmation, maybe a letter confirming that closure. We were aiming to get everything done. We were at a point where it seemed to be, the momentum seemed to be picking up. And it was a few months later that actually a judge stepped in and halted everything, not believing it was a fair settlement. And due to the amount of time, I wasn't able to go back and ask. So make sure that you ask all your questions at this point when you are working through the financials. You need to check everything. You need to become a forensic accountant. Forensic accounting is used when someone commits fraud, and fraud can take many forms. And it doesn't matter how you look at it, fraud is theft. It is profiting by deceit or trickery, and it involves the theft of funds or the information or the use of someone's assets without their permission. If you have a legal team, they should have access to a forensic accountant, but they can be costly. They're specially trained to investigate and to report fraud in relation to legal cases, including divorce. You may want to consider the cost of appointing one versus the settlement figure. However, there's nothing to stop you doing your own investigation initially. In a business, financial statement fraud is commonly referred to as cooking the books. It's where somebody or a company deliberately overstate or understate their assets, revenues, profit and loss. And it might help you to do some role play and take out any of your personal emotions and see this as a financial transaction. See them as a business and not a person. When a forensic accountant investigates business financial fraud, she looks for red flags or accounting warning signs. A red flag in a business might be high revenues and low expenses. What you could look for maybe is a change in their spending patterns and their expenses being maybe unusually high. They might be overspending on clothes or other items. They might be spending, leaving a negative balance. You might see excessive cash withdrawals, and you might not be able to go back too far to compare. But look month on month and see if there's anything that jumps out at you. Look for any credit cards or loans that have recently been taken out, any money that's being paid out. If you're unsure about what sort of expenses you should be looking for, try going to a debt company. These are people that help you get out of debt. And I'm fairly sure you should be able to download a sheet that might itemize things that you would expect to see on someone's bank statement. So things like rent or mortgage payments, car expenses. They'll give you an idea of what you could be looking for, and then you can go through. And anything that doesn't add up, then you can highlight. I remember looking at a bank statement, and afterwards I thought, I didn't see any payments for things like petrol or car insurance or any other items. As I said, I had decided not to challenge what I didn't see. It was only when it was rejected by the court that I wish I had done. So either make your own list of expenses or see if you can download one somewhere. Expect to see things like housing, food, bills, car expenses. Look for what isn't there as well as what is. They will move money around to protect themselves. But today, most money has got a trail. And I have heard of people that have found bank accounts in their name and they had no idea that it was open or when it was opened. Make sure you look at investments that were made, particularly during the time that you were together. Look at their income and their outgoings and see whether they balance. As I said, it can be expensive employing a forensic accountant, By doing your own investigation, you might discover that it is worth that cost, or you might discover yourself smaller anomalies that you can chase. And if you're able to, get the records for a year, look at your outgoings over a year, and then look at your income and do the same with theirs. You start to get an understanding by looking at your own, what you should be looking for. And if they don't match up, that's your key to delve a bit deeper and see what's really going on. Perhaps they've submitted wage slips that aren't consecutive. This actually happened to me, and my solicitor hadn't picked up on it. And this was with my first husband. And I realised too late that one was missing. And the one that was missing was one with a bonus. And it was really clear to see, because if you looked at the total earnings, they were a lot higher. Consider if they have different income sources. Your first steps should be to investigate and do this yourself if it isn't too triggering. If it is, can you ask a friend or a family member or someone to help you? This isn't a game, but if you can change your energy, you could turn it into one where you're investigating a crime or a theft, which takes away some of that personal involvement or the emotion that might come up, and it might help you be more balanced in your thinking. As I said, get a list of expenses from a debt company. I'm sure you can print them off, acceptable things that you'd expect to see as monthly outgoings, and it will give you an idea of what to look for. And the red flags are what's not there. During this time, remember your self-care and look after yourself. This experience really could trigger you if you discover that they're hiding or moving money around and you have nothing to feed yourself or your family. You might be wondering who does that to another person, still battling with wanting to have them back in your life. I'm going to put a link also to my free workbook, Turn Broke and Broken into Your Superpower. It helps you look at all areas of your life, emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, financial, and helps you understand what's really important to you. If you're aware of the Sally Challen story, it was her estranged husband was convincing her not to make a claim against the marital home and wanting to continue the divorce proceedings, whilst also playing along convincing her that they still had a future together. They play games and they will stop at nothing. This is why it's so important to start the work on emotionally divorcing from them. But not only does it help you with your negotiation, you won't be caught up in their victim story or be living in fear from the bully, but you will be in a position when you get that piece of paper saying that you are free. You will be free on every level to walk away. You're in a better position to make good choices for you. One of the hardest parts of dealing with this type of relationship is trying to heal and living in fear of how you're going to survive. And then watching your abuser living their life without any financial worries. And it's especially hard if you've got children or dependents. You can get through this with help, and please ask for it. Your self-esteem has been crushed and you might not know how to function. But there are refuges and support networks that can help you. They can help you manage your debt if you've been left with it. And if you can't find the finances to pay for a solicitor or legal team, see if you are entitled to any help from any organisations. You might be able to request finances up front from the settlement. Your local refuge doesn't just work with finding housing. They're really helpful towards women in your situation, and they will be able to point you in the direction you need to go. And even if you do have a legal team, take a look at the finances yourself. To err is human. We all make mistakes, but don't let someone else's mistake impact your life. You might have played detective in your relationship, so now would be the time to use the tools that you learned. I hope you found this video useful. If you'd like to find out more about working with me on a one-to-one basis, I'll put the details, the links to my website below. I'll also put the links to both my free workbooks, Turn Broke and Broken into Your Superpower and Self-Care is Vital, in the description as well, along with the links to both my books, Finding Lily and The A to Z of Emotional Abuse. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the video and share with anyone you think that might find this useful. I'm sending you loads and loads and loads of love.